roster was announced this morning. A lot of good pitching. How do you see that success in the World Baseball Classic with a staff like that?
Yeah, our goal is to win it. I mean, it's all I've thought about since 2023, since we lost in the finals 3-2 to Japan. And yeah, I want to put a team together with Mike Hill, putting a team together that feeds off each other, makes sense. I mean, obviously talent wins the day, but there's also some spots where it's got to make sense from a chemistry standpoint. Guys be in positions they can be successful. Ultimately, it comes down to pitching and trying to kind of massage that through the entire tournament.
And with guys like Skenes being added, how do you think, like, the combination of both having premier hitters and pitchers on your team, how do you think that's going to gel?
I think it gels fantastically. It's one of the messages I give when we first get in the room. Like, listen, it might be a little different this time because Judge is like an alpha male at 6'7". Usually there's a kind of a testing out period, which I try and erase right out of the gate. But I believe like it was important for us, a position player pillar, and Skenes changes the game from the United States standpoint from pitching, and a pitching pillar. And what you find is when you make the calls, just like in 23, a lot of guys wanting to play with Trout and see what he's like behind closed doors and in his process. A lot of these guys want to get in the room with the game's best and kind of pick their brain and compete with them and then bring it back to their parent club.
What have conversations with Judge been like about the team? Has he been involved?
No, he hasn't. We let the guys play the season. He was, God, when was he announced? April?
He was our first. He was like, it was
April or May.
So you've talked to him since then?
I've talked to him since then. I've circled back every so often. I wanted these guys to finish their seasons. I didn't want them thinking about the WBC throughout the course of their season. So, but yeah, just a check-in. You still good? How you feeling? Who do you want? Certainly gives his opinions on who he wants to play with, but. No, from a standpoint of getting ready for this thing, it's just kind of check-in calls.
What is
on the pitching front, we've made several announcements position player-wise, and we were respectful of everyone's season, and making sure that they got through regular season, got through healthy. Now that we're into the off-season now, gearing up for the tournament, we'll amp up our pitching process. Logan Webb is obviously one of those names under consideration. So we'll be spending the next few weeks leading up to finalizing the roster and just trying to build the deepest pitching staff that we can. We've been fortunate to announce some of our premier American position players, and as Mark said, we made a focus of making Paul Skenes our pillar from a pitching standpoint, to put everyone on notice, to put the world on notice that we want our best representing Team USA. And so Logan Webb's a part of that process, and hopefully he'll want to be a part of it and join us and finishing the job that we came up a little short in 2023.
So still the possibility?
Yes.
Going back to the allure of the event for players got to the point where you guys, it's less about recruiting and more about getting fielding requests.
Yeah, I mean, DeRosa was a part of it in 23, and I think the second that tournament ended, he was thinking about ways to bring the gold home, and I think that's what's so special for me, to know that he's been through it. We've got several of our coaching staffs who've been through it, and I think there's a huge sense of pride as a country, from our players, that they want to be a part of this. They want to don the red, white, and blue, and hopefully help us, finish the job. So it's been more on him. He's had to field a lot of the phone calls, and I know he said that he may lose a few friends when it's all said and done, because he's got, our roster's 30. Wish it could be 50. Wish we could take 60 players, but it's going to be 30. And as he said, we're trying to put together the best team, the best collection of men who are going to do their part, check their egos at the door, and do whatever they can to help Team USA finish the job.
We cast a wide net last time in 23, and we were calling guys for interest. I haven't made those calls. If we sit and do our Zooms and staff Zooms and come up with who we feel makes sense, I'm calling you and asking you if you want to be a part of it. They have been some of the highlights of my career. Some of these guys are waiting for the call. Some of them are blown away by the call. So that it's been really awesome.
How has the loss in the finals impacted you, and then your approach to this process? I guess the hunger for vengeance, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you see it from every other country. Their best arms show up. For whatever reason in the United States, our best arms don't show up. That being said, we're trying to change that narrative, but we also, that is not, I want to give love, because the guys who have shown up want to be there. And that's big. In this 2.5, 3 week race, there's no getting loose. You got to want to do this. You got to have your heart in it. You got to want to represent your country. You got to want to post. So we've attacked it, because there were moments in 23, truth be told, Lance Lynn doesn't go out and dominate against Canada in pool play in Game 3, and people we didn't necessarily have the pitching to cover everything, because we had such guardrails on everybody. This guy can only do this. This guy can only do this, and it made for very difficult, sleepless nights trying to you're not managing, you're just piecing it together at that point. You're counting pitches. So going into it this time, I want to be able to just listen. I'd love all the stars and do here, go play, and we'll hang out. But I wanted to attack it from what do we need if X happens, Y happens.
You still think there's limitations on the pitchers this year, or is that a conversation with the teams in spring training?
There's restrictions built in
to the tournament,
but there was also restrictions that may have come from a respective organization, and we've been very thoughtful in how we were looking to build the roster, and that's why having Mark, who's been through it, having Andy Pettit, who's been through it, they're coming with real world knowledge and experience of how the tournament worked, what worked for them in 23, what didn't work for them in 23. And we've been thoughtful in our process to make sure that we cover them. We want to build them a roster that can cover them any which way that the tournament may go. You never know how it's going to unfold, but we want to make sure that he has the pieces, be it pitching, be it position player wise, that whichever direction it goes, he feels covered and he feels like we have the right option that we can go to that's going to allow us to be successful.
So back
quick one, and one quick, you mentioned the rest of the world's where their best arms show up, and that hasn't been necessarily been the case with the USA. Has that recruiting process been different for them? I mean, obviously Skenes
He's changed it. He's certainly changed it.
Has that influenced the rest of that
Yes.
team recruitment process?
Yeah, I would say that's very, very fair. And also, I just think the fear of missing out. I think guys who watched in 23 and saw the game against Japan, saw the iconic moment between Trout and Ohtani, saw Trey Turner's granny against Venezuela. It's like, man, these are moments in time. And you got a chance to do that. My pitch has been completely different this time. It's like, you're going to miss out on 3 weeks of the greatest time of your life as a professional. I mean, if you never win a World Series. And it's what it's becoming. I mean, you see the way Latin America and Japan and everybody is kind of, I just feel like there's been a groundswell with the United States player that, all right, it's time for us to go.
Speaking of the Trout and Ohtani matchup, that was one of the most talked about moments of that World Series, because they were these are two of the best players in the world. And there's been a lot of momentum about baseball recently that a lot of people who haven't really been paying attention are interested. Like in the World Series, there were a lot of people who were just like, this is an amazing game. Do you see that excitement carrying over to the World Baseball Classic?
I do. I think the game's at its peak right now. I think there's so many young superstars in the game. I think the pitch clock has allowed people to come to the yard and know they're going home in 3 hours. I just think there's the World Series, 7 games of just pure excitement, and now leads into the WBC. And yeah, I think the game is like.
What's Mike Trout's kind of standing now? I know he's not what he was 3 years ago.
What's his standing right now? I mean, we're talking to him. We're talking to a couple other players and trying to figure out what Mike wants to do. because like you said, he's got to be ready for 26 with the Angels. He didn't play much defensively, if at all. So it's kind of a give and take, what he wants to do, what he feels comfortable doing. Yeah. Yeah, they're both gonna. Like I told Gunnar, he's gonna play. We did it the last time. We had Trey, we had Tim Anderson, we had Jeff McNeil. You got Bryce Terang at second. I know Gunnar won't go over to second base, but there's a way to make all these guys happy. I wouldn't bet on that.
Is it good for the WBC? I mean, do you want him to?
I will plan as if Shohei will be pitching in the WBC. Yeah. I understand it. You play deep into October. It's tough to get ramped up, but I also feel like Japan's a driving force behind the WBC. Like they really have.
They're the defending champs.
Yeah,
they're
defending
champs, and we know the talent that they have in Japan, and Shohei is the leader of that group. So, we're going into this, assuming that he's going to be participating how he participates on the mound, in the batter's box, and we're trying to build a roster knowing that that they're a team to beat.
I say this. I think I said it to him at the World Series. He secretly became my favorite player last year during the World Series. The selflessness that he showed. He was warming up. He was coming. Everything he did was just a ton of respect for
what you'd want out of any player.
Yeah, you gotta be kidding me.
You think about a selfless team player. That's exactly what he represented. So, we know fully well. You look around this room, we know that all the excitement around this tournament is warranted. Like, these are the best players in the world representing their respective federations. And you look around this room, and there's talent. Our game is global right now, and there's global talent in every one of these federations. We aren't taking that lightly, and I think that's what's making our job harder, because we know as hard as we're working to put together the best Team USA, we know that Japan is doing the same thing. We know that the Dominican is doing the same thing. We know that Venezuela, all these other federations are doing the same thing, and they have the players to support those rosters as well. So we're looking forward to a tremendous tournament. We know there's going to be great players throughout, and that's why we're trying to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. We know that if we do our job and everybody, is focused on what we want to do, that we'll be right there with everyone else.
Are you looking forward to face Japan again in final?
We're ready to face whomever it is. Like, we got to take care of game one before we can get to game two. And, this is our manager, so they're going to be following his lead, but we're not looking ahead to anything. We know that it's one game at a time, and we know that we need to handle our business that particular day, move on to the next. And, if we're fortunate enough to be there at the end and it's against Japan, we know what our goal is. We're trying to be the last team standing in this process.
It was so hard. I'll be honest with you. It was hard to get through pool play last year. We were grinding to get the offense going through pool play finally. And then Trey hits the huge homer against Venezuela, the grand slam that kind of lit us up, lit the world on fire for us. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want another crack at him. That was tough, But ton of respect. We'll see how the format lays out. If it goes, we might get them in the semifinals for all we know.
You never know.
I just want to play well. I want to create an environment where these guys get the best versions of them.
So, Pedro, you obviously wanted Kyle Schwarber back on your team. What is it about that guy?
He was the chemistry guy for me, Jay, last time. He was the guy. Listen, there's nerves in there. I don't care how good a player you are. When you walk in a room full of superstars and then the eyes of the world are on you, and there's pressure to perform in front of the grades. He attacks it so differently. Everyone, he's in the dugout. Everyone relax. Do what you do. Even to me, coming up, like rubbing my shoulders, just like, I got you. There's just no panic with this guy. I talked to him 48 hours ago. Just kind of circled back. No idea he was about to sign with Philly. But I was just kind of picking his brain about where he likes to hit in the lineup. Because Rob Thompson's let him off, and I'm like, you do that for the team, but do you truly love that? Do you love being the first guy up? And he said, he honestly said his quote was, I don't care where you hit me. I'm going to walk and hit homers in the leadoff spot, the second spot, the third spot. And that, for a manager, but he was, I felt like the glue guy from a personality standpoint.
I mean, you had a team full of stars.
Yeah.
And he was able to be that guy.
Yeah, he was the guy. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt got up and spoke. He was the first guy to get up and, kind of vocally talk about what it meant to be there. But I felt from a kind of leader, I don't want to say leadership, I think more of just relaxing everybody, it was Kyle.
Does that help explain how he goes from non-tender to 5 years, 150?
I think it just goes to how confident he is as a player and as a hitter, and how great a guy he is. I mean, he's got that football mentality. He was a linebacker in high school. He brings it right into the clubhouse. He's an infectious personality, and everyone loves him. And he backs it up.
When you think about Bryce Terang, he's at a different stage in his career, kind of just making a name. He gets added today. What do you think about where he's at in sort of his career arc?
I think for me, watching his second half, he kind of exploded from a power standpoint, but I'm not concerned about the power. It's more just the confidence standpoint that he has and he plays with, the ability to do everything on the field. He's a platinum glove winner. He can steal a bag. Talking to him, he just seems like he wants the moment. I thought, Mike can speak to it, it was a pretty easy ad for us.
Now, when we looked at the roster construction, it's Team USA, so we've got every player in the United States available to us, but we didn't necessarily need a team full of superstars. We needed a team full of good players who could fit together, who could play defense, who could steal a bag when we needed a bag. We wanted to build, and we are looking to build the most complete roster we can for Mark, because in a tournament scenario, you never know the direction of a game, and we want to make sure that he's got flexibility, that he's got versatility, he's got speed, he's got defense, he's got hit ability, he's got power. Every element, when you look at putting a team together, we're trying to give him that. And, Bryce is one of those players, we've got Aaron Judge, who's one of the best in the game, but it takes all types of talent to win this type of tournament. And that's why when we looked at second base, we thought that the skill set that Bryce Terang brought just fit with what we were trying to build.
And I'm big on the pitching and defense. That's how I was raised with the Braves, and the top of the order is going to score you your runs. And I just feel like I'm going to sleep good at night knowing he's at second base, turning double plays, working with Bobby and Gunnar, and just he's a kind of a lockdown guy.
I know you mentioned the second half of Bryce. Can you speak to when you guys really zeroed in on he was the guy that you thought was the best fit?
Well, we had a large, as you would expect, a large interest list, and he was a part of it, among others. But we wanted balance in a lineup. And if you look at the names that we've announced thus far, it's pretty equal when you look at right-handed bats, you look at left-handed bats, you look at the athleticism that we have on the field. I think that's really when we started to zero in. You thought about that left-right balance, and you've got it with Bobby and with Gunnar and Bryce. You've got a piece that we know fits within that lineup, gives him balance, so that, like I said, we can handle a pitching staff however it comes at us. We feel like we've got appropriate balance in the lineup.
I was calling in 23, calling GMs to move Trey Turner to second, to move Tim Anderson to second, to try and get through this thing. And you're doing that, and you're not even sure if they can turn a double play. and you're asking them to do it in front of 50,000. We didn't want to. I don't want to just grab all the stars and then we'll figure out what positions they play. I want to play baseball.
We want to be thoughtful. We want to be thoughtful of the roster construction because. I mean, this has gotten too important not for us to look at this every which way possible to make sure that, and the fact that he's lived it, like that was incredibly helpful for me in that he could talk about different situations and how he felt the different things that he needed. And then we brainstormed, we had our staff meetings, we looked at, the collective USA players and tried to make sure that we were checking all those boxes and making sure that we were as complete, or we will be as complete as possible when we report to Scottsdale March 1st.
I'm sure you guys have been asked about Logan Webb already, but have you talked to him much, and what are your expectations with the meeting?
I've talked to him a couple times. I certainly want him to be a part of it. I've loved him for a long time. Makes a ton of sense. We almost had him in 23, and then he signed the extension. Totally understood. So yes, I'd love to have him.
We did get that question, and we did say that we love to have him. So.